feel, or what do you think the average net worth of a homeowner is in the United States? Any ideas? No idea. Jake, give it
Of a
a homeowner. Average net worth, so it's taking your assets and liabilities.
$800,000.
Not quite. 255,000. What is the average net worth of a renter?
Probably
20.
6,300
Oh.
dollars is the average net worth of a renter. So that's why home ownership is so important. That is how most people in the United States start their wealth and build their wealth and have something to leave for their families eventually, possibly. With that being said, it's always very important to know what kind of equity you have in your home, and obviously with starting with Habitat, you walk in with equity right away. Is there usually a dollar figure that is known at the time of closing?
They have their appraisal, and then basically their loan will match their appraisal.
Okay,
They don't do there's no down payment or anything, so
Okay.
it's just kind of
it's like
a
that, okay.
purchase price and appraisal match.
Okay, in 2020, we kind of hit like this really weird time with COVID and our housing market and everything like that, and it really hasn't cooled down. And so we saw property values increase 10, 12, 15% in that time. Over an average, it's usually 6%. So that's another great thing with home ownership. It's almost like a forced savings account almost, because obviously you're paying towards a mortgage. However, you're building equity, and eventually you could pull that money out, or if you were to sell, you would walk away with money, which is very cool. So as far as a good neighbor course, covenants and restrictions. So covenants and restrictions is basically a playbook for the neighborhood that you're living in. I think one myth when it comes to covenants and restrictions is people think that it's the developer or the real estate agent or a higher level that enforces those covenants and restrictions. It's not. It's you as neighbors enforcing those covenants and restrictions. The main one that we hear about a lot, I would say, is somebody who's not very good about putting their trash bins away, or putting their trash bins, let's say, just like in front of their garage. And so your neighbor across the street or your neighbor next to you, that's what they're looking at all the time. In the covenants and restrictions, you'll see where it's stated that garbage bins and recycle bins need to be put away the day of garbage pickup. And typically they want those stored in the garages. We have had people, obviously, if there's only a 1 or 2 stall garage, it gets a little tight in there, and so you'll see people put them on the side of the homes. That's usually not a problem. Every once in a while you'll have the fun neighbor who will think that that's a problem, and so people will put up just a simple fence barrier that looks very nice and goes with the home. So I would say that's probably on our end, probably one of the biggest complaints that we hear. And again, you'll call the developer or the real estate agent associated, and there's really nothing we can do about it. We're not a governing body by no means to be able to enforce that. So a good way to look at covenants and restrictions is that it's a playbook for the neighborhood. The reason why there are covenants and restrictions is to ensure that the integrity of the neighborhoods sustain themselves. You want your home to look nice, and with that being said, you want your neighbor's home to look nice, because that reflects upon that neighborhood. And so that's why covenants and restrictions are a thing. Most covenants and restrictions require architectural review. And I was just talking to Jake about this, but the ones that are going into Timberline, Paul, the developer, will want to take a look and see what those house plans look like. And we don't really care what it looks like on the inside. They want to know more or less what it looks like on the exterior. Because again, they want it to fit in with the neighborhood. A great example of that is in Timberline, we had somebody come to us and they wanted to do one of those barndoniums. They had to make a lot of changes to their plan, because a barndonium, as they are, or doesn't really fit in with the aesthetic of that neighborhood. So that's why they're so important. The other thing that Paul takes a look at, and when things are presented for architectural review, when they come back from the architect or the draftsman, is they want to take a look at house colors. If there's rock on the front, a lot of them have the landscaping plan that's going to be included with the home. And again, that's all just to make sure that it's aesthetically pleasing for the entire neighborhood. Another thing that also goes through architectural review in most circumstances is if you plan to put a fence up. I think majority of the developments allow fences. Certain developments might only allow certain fences. You know, they don't want the wood fences, they'd rather have the vinyl or the wrought iron look. And so it's important to submit those plans to that developer to ensure that you are meeting that criteria. Another big one that goes through architectural approval is the sheds. If you want a detached shed to the property, and if you drive through Timberline or most of the newer developments, you will see that the sheds look very similar to their house, and there's a reason for that. Again, they want that neighborhood and that community to be aesthetically pleasing and kind of roll in. Another one, this one here, the next one down, is another big one that we get notified about. Boats, trailers, and RVs. People like to park their RVs in front of their house all summer long, and I am one that does not like that. And I am the first neighbor to go out and say, yours has been here for 3 days, it's gotta go. Like, I don't wanna look out of my house, and that's not what I wanna look at all day. Plus, it's a safety issue too with children. Where I live, there's lots of little kids, and where that neighbor's RV is all the time, I'm just waiting for there to be a collision.
There's one on the circle coming up to Oline there.
Yes.
It's always there.
Always out there, yes. And again, I can't call my developer and complain about it. I have to be an adult and go over there and just say, I don't like it, can we come up with a better solution? It's been here for weeks, like it's gotta go, you know? So, so it's not only just, you know, you don't want it to look like there's just a bunch of stuff in front of your yard. Again, it's a safety concern too. It usually in most covenants and restrictions, it does talk about nuisances such as large parties, noises at night, constantly barking dogs, etc. I don't think there's anything in any of them that say you can't, you know, no loud noises after 10 p.m. or anything like that, like you would have like in Florida or different states or communities such as that. Again, it's just being a good neighbor and being cognizant of how somebody else would feel about that. You know, and then the constantly barking dogs, I would say that's another offender that will get called on quite a bit. You know, so-and-so's got 3 dogs, they're barking at us all the time, like what can we do about it? That one gets a little sticky because, you know, it's somebody's dog. So it's again, having that conversation. We've had conversations with them. A lot of times it has to deal with mean dogs at that, or, you know, dogs that feel like they're being a threat. Again, there's only so much that we can do. There's only so much the covenants can redo. That's, you know, where animal control and those type of things come involved. So it's just knowing that if you got a dog that's a barker, you need to do something about it. Whether it's a collar for the barking or whatnot. Snow blowers, lawnmowers, those type of things, that just kind of goes along with the trash bins. Keep those stored in your garage or your shed. Don't just keep those out on the side or anything like that. Again, it's to, you know, make that area look nice. Rec equipment such as pool, swing sets, trampolines, etc. Majority of those need to be in the backyard, not the front yard. Hot tubs, those must be approved by the community board. Again, that could be like the architectural review process. That's kind of the same with the pools too. no clotheslines, satellite antennas on the back of the home and in accordance to city ordinance. That's the other thing, city ordinance trumps covenants and restrictions. Typically, city ordinance is a little bit more broad, and then covenants and restrictions, you know, come in and they're a little bit more, you know, narrowed down. A big one here, no livestock or poultry. Chickens are not allowed in town. I don't think they're allowed in Aurora either, so, sorry for that. We get that question quite a bit, but, they are illegal in town with city ordinance. I don't know if the city were to change that, how that would impact our development. So, as of right now, it is called out, no livestock or poultry. At least in Brookings, I know for sure, they do call out, 2 large pet max, for cats and dogs. We do know people that have more than that. It doesn't become a problem until it is a problem. If you got dogs that are constantly barking, yeah, or you got what looks like a puppy mill going on, that's when we're gonna have issues.
I should tell mom that thing.
Again, the next one was the trash. Holiday decor put up no more than 30 days before a holiday or taken down no more than 30 days. You'll see people put lights up well prior, you know, when the weather's nice, and that's fine. Again, these are general guidelines. Now, if you look like Clark Griswold year round, you might, you know, have neighbors that don't really care for that. But for the most part, you know, stay within the holiday time frame there. Garage doors closed unless in use, which again, that just is a safety precaution too. I'll be honest, I have 2 kids. I feel like our garage doors in the summertime are open all year round, and I've never had one neighbor say otherwise. Like, I had to look at that and be like, oh, I bet that's in ours. So I guess when I'm getting after my kids, I can tell them like, hey, that's what we're supposed to do. Paint colors must be approved by architectural review, and that's kind of what we touched on when you send the house, when the house plans are sent in to the developer. You know, I'm sorry if you want a bright pink house, most likely that will not be approved. They try to, and the other thing that are the houses painted, or do they come with,
We painted mine.
they painted yours, okay. So
Yeah, most of the time we paint them.
you guys paint, okay.
They're rarely.
Certain colors to
That's
get
permanent.
rid of
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
These guys are getting permanent siding.
okay,
Yeah.
We
so
get
you guys
constant.
have
Normally,
different colors.
normally we paint, normally,
Okay.
and we always let the homeowner pick, but yeah, I've seen that there's more. Well, almost everywhere now we have to get it reviewed
Approved.
first. In the past, I feel like we didn't
Yeah.
as much in our,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
it'd be interesting. I don't think anybody would, I mean, yeah, it'd have to be a weird,
It'd have to be a really weird color for it not to be approved.
yeah.
Like Desiree did gray and yellow.
Yeah.
That one, there was there, no, we didn't have to go to the historic, like we had some downtown ones, we had to do like the historical
Okay,
society.
oh
and
yeah,
we
so
had
that's
to
a
approve
whole nother
everything.
level that
But that one, I don't think we had to really ask anybody, and we painted that 2 different colors.
Okay.
I think it looks nice, but
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah. One tree in the front and 1 tree in the backyard, that's pretty standard in most covenants and restrictions too. It looks like here that Habitat provides that for you, which is sure nice. Sometimes with covenants and restriction, there's utility easements that go through the backyard. So one that I was working on had a 15-foot buffer, and so they did say, okay, obviously when you plant a tree, you have utilities come. And so, but if you're within that 15-foot buffer, what happens is if the city were to have to dig that up for whatever reason, it's at your expense to get those trees removed and then put back in if it's within that utility easement.
So we'll provide all of them at timberline for the front and the back, and then any other house, we always do 1 tree. But I suppose we just let the homeowner pick if it's in the front or the back for everything
Mhm.
else.
Yeah.
But we don't usually do both.
Yeah, okay. That's good to know. Political signs taken down within 2 days, at the end of the campaign, which that's more or less a political standpoint too, or rule or regulation also. And that it should not be any more than 5 square feet. You do see a lot of people violate that, especially if they're passionate one way or the other. I personally don't allow any political signs in my yard, just I don't wanna deal with that drama. Especially with the nature of our US right now. And
No, you don't know what they're gonna do.
That's exactly it. You know, some people look at them and it's very shocking. I was like, I would not have expected you to go that way. Not that it changes my relationship with them at all, but it's just like, oh, okay. Important do's and don'ts for being neighborly. Another big one is lawn maintenance. So the city does require your lawn not to be any longer than a certain amount of inches, and they did change that recently. Did it go up to 10 inches, I think?
I thought it was 6.
6 or 10, I can't remember, but.
So they increased it this last summer to be more, I don't know. That one was very,
Probably
Divided.
environmentally friendly,
yeah.
less gas and all that.
Yeah, but then I'm gonna assume that if your grass is longer, you might have more mosquitoes and bugs, so is the city gonna be spraying more for those? I don't know, but, so the big thing is, you know, it's always usually, at least in my neighborhood, it's always a competition. When one person's out mowing, it seems like you're out mowing too. So again. Yeah. So, and then the other big thing is, with the grass clippings with the city, if you don't have a bagger, so if you're just letting the glass clippings fly, you can't have them in the gutters. You have to get those blown out, and the reason for that is if water comes, they don't want the storm sewers
Clog it too much,
clogged. Yeah, and then not just that, but then any chemicals that are on the lawn would run, you know, into that storm sewer too. Remove snow in a timely manner. I think in Brookings for sidewalks, it is 48 hours.
Yep.
You have to have your sidewalks cleared off. I don't believe that that is necessary for your driveway since that's your personal property. But again, just timely, you know, be timely about it. Get leaves raked up in an appropriate amount of time and don't rake into your neighbor's yard or blow your leaves into your neighbor's yard. If you guys are all in the newer developments, that's one thing that you really don't have to worry about. It takes a while for those trees to mature. I, since 2012, have lived in newer developments, and my husband uses our blower thing more for light snow and grass clippings than he does for leaves. So, that's the other big one with pets. Don't let your dogs use your neighbor's yard. If it does happen, you know, get it cleaned up. That, honestly, people and their pets,
I see it all the time.
it's always the biggest conflict with neighbors. It never fails. So just be a good neighbor, and if you have pets, clean up after them.
That's funny.
And that goes for if your dog uses your own front yard, you know, clean that up. I know right now I have 2 dogs being out there in the snow trying to clean up after them. They use our front yard. We don't really have access to our backyard very easily, but that's the last thing somebody would want to look at as they're driving by. So we try to get it cleaned up. Don't let tree branches grow over into your neighbor's property. So if you have a tree that's on your side, try to keep that. Yep, exactly. Be mindful where you're parking. Park in front of your own house when you can versus your neighbors. I know for us, if we are having a birthday party or something, I'll send a text out to my neighbors just to, hey, heads up. We're gonna have quite a few people over. Let me know if it's gonna be an issue if they park in front of your house, just because I don't know what they got going on. But they always seem to really appreciate that, and they pay that same gesture back to us too. Do they get sprinklers with their?
In their lawn,
No, okay. If you're using the manual sprinklers, just kind of watch where that water is going. You don't wanna.
Wash someone's car.
Exactly. The other big thing too, when we talk about being neighborly, is yes, your yard is your yard, when it comes to fences and pools and things like that, but it's always just a really nice gesture if you do plan on putting up a fence, just to let your neighbors, know. That could be one of two things. They might have been thinking about a fence too, and you guys can share along that lot line, that expense there. Otherwise, it's just a nice gesture to give to your neighbor that, you're thinking about putting up a fence. Let's see here.
And for fences too, there's like a, I just signed one. If it is on the lot line, I think they want you to sign like a shared fence agreement.
Yes, like an easement.
It's mostly so when they move.
Yes.
If one of you moves and the person behind the house
Yes.
doesn't have to worry about,
Yes.
about that in the future. Like
Yes.
whose fence is this, whose line
Yeah.
is on, so.
And if you do move and put your house up, when they do the survey, on the house, most of them will have a survey. The only time that a survey isn't done is if a bank isn't involved. So if it's like a cash offer or something like that. So that survey will be done. At the time of that survey, they'll have that fence or anything that's encroaching or anything like that. And the current seller would have to sign that easement form with that neighbor next door. So it is nice, like Jake said, just to get that done up front and recorded with the city. It's $30. And it's a pretty easy document to get done.
And one other thing, just kind of along those lines, that's not in here is this would just be for you guys, but we will have like a shared party wall agreement for you guys to sign, and then that just kind of gives some legal, I don't know what you'd call it, legal, language about like how, how the lot's split and what, like, if she had to repair her roof and she needed to get on your roof to do it.
Oh,
that's-
okay.
That you would allow that as long as she's not camping out on your roof.
We should do like a small tent up there, it'd be fun.
Things to do to get to know your neighbors. I feel like we're very fortunate to live where we live. Most people are very neighborly and very friendly. It doesn't mean that you're gonna end up being best friends with them, but
Just have understanding.
yeah, I think it's just nice to get to know them. There's certain parts in this country where it's not like that, and that would be, kind of sad place to live in. So the big thing, I have family in Florida, it's a mess, so, introduce yourself to your neighbors. When we moved over to our new neighborhood, it was right during COVID time. I knew a couple of the neighbors, but the rest of them, my kids and I made up some cookies and just dropped by and introduced ourselves and provided our phone numbers to them just so they had them. The big thing, I don't have Facebook anymore, but the big thing is like neighborhood Facebook groups now. I don't know if you guys are a part of any of that, but my development has one, which when somebody's trampoline blows into somebody else's yard, way down the street, it's nice to get that notification.
That's something in my yard.
Anybody know whose trampoline this is? I have certain neighbors that we do, get together with and have barbecues. Quite a few of us have kids around the same age, so usually twice a year we all get together and hang out and do those type of things. It's fun, it makes you and the new neighbors feel welcome. Whenever we're out on vacation, we usually have one of our neighbors grab our mail or just check on our house and things like that if we're gone for an extended period of time. And they're always good to look out for suspicious activity. It seems like with Ring doorbells and all of the cameras anymore, things get caught pretty quickly. So that's sure nice to have. So in majority of the neighborhoods that I've lived with, you know, between my kids and I, we've made some really great friends along the way. So I can only hope that that will happen with you guys too. But it's okay to be more anonymous and just a hello and a wave. It's never good to be mortal enemies, because let me tell you, that is the worst when you dread going home because you can't stand your neighbor. So, where in Aurora will the houses be?
We're sitting on Walnut Street, so as you first go into the first newest
Uh-huh.
neighborhood,
Yeah.
and then it's just a few streets. in.
Okay, yeah, that's a really nice. Do you have a pretty big lot then?
It's a pretty big lot, we're
Pretty big.
sitting right next to a playground that's not even there yet.
Oh
Well,
wow.
they're right next to the park, so
Yeah,
their lawn touches the park.
that's cool.
It's just a big empty lot, but.
Yeah, it will be at one point. Yeah.
Somebody found a way to purchase it. and
Yeah, yeah, there you go, there you go. Well, that's exciting.
It's a big lot, so we're looking forward to
Yeah.
actually getting in there and living our life.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Aurora's such a nice,
And they keep it pretty nice in the
yeah,
winter time.
Yeah, they do.
Pretty clear, and
yeah,
I don't think we have to move too much snow, but I think it's just our driveway most of the time.
Yeah.
So
well, good.
that'd be something really nice to just start on.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. Do you guys have any questions at all when it comes to covenants and restrictions?
I don't know if you know like the restrictions to Aurora, but like, you know what I'm talking about, the tree line. You know, once those
Oh, yeah.
trees grow bigger and bigger, I mean, would it be like the city ordinance coming out to take care of that, to trim them down? Because like now when she mentioned the tree restriction, that's what I was thinking about mainly, cause there's just a big row of trees.
Yeah.
And they're tiny right now, but like once they grow bigger and bigger, I mean, wouldn't the city take care of that?
In Brookings, the city takes care of that.
Right.
Like the boulevards, they
Yes.
trim them
Yeah,
every year,
yeah,
and they will get
Replace
rid of them if
them,
they, something happens to them.
right.
So I would assume Aurora would be similar, I
Okay.
could check with the city and see.
Okay, yeah, cause I mean, now since we're all on the same page, that just came to my mind.
Yeah. Any other questions at all?